All right. Chapter 9. I have come upon a story of somebody in Philadelphia who, having heard that a strange wild animal was prowling in New Jersey, announced that he had caught it. He exhibited something as the Jersey Devil. I have to accept that this person was the press agent of a dime museum and that the creature that he exhibited was a kangaroo to which he had attached tin wings and green whiskers. But if better established branches of biology are subject to nature fakery, what can be expected in our newer biology with all the insecurities of newness? Jersey Devils have been reported other times, but though I should not like to be so dogmatic as to say that there are no Jersey Devils, I have had no encouragement investigating them. One of the stories, according to a clipping that was sent to me by Miss F.G. Talman of Woodbury, New Jersey, appeared in the Woodbury Daily Times, December 15th, 1925. William Hyman, upon his farm near Woodbury, had been aroused by a disturbance in his chicken coop. He shot and killed a never before heard of animal. I have written to Mr. Hyman and have no reason to think that there is a Mr. Hyman. I have had an extensive, though one sided correspondence with people who may not be about things that probably aren't. For the latest account of the Jersey Devil, see the New York Times, August 6, 1930. Remains of a strange animal teleported to this earth from Mars or the moon, very likely or not so likely, found on a bank of a stream in Australia. See the Adelaide Observer for September 15th, 1883, that Mr. Hode of Adelaide had found on a bank of Brungle Creek a headless trunk of a pig like animal with an appendage that curved inward like the tail of a lobster. New Zealand Times, May 9th, 1883. Excitement near Masterton. Unknown creature at large, curly hair, short legs, and a broad muzzle. Dogs sent after it. One of the dogs flayed by it. Rest of the dogs running away, probably with their tails between their legs. But the reporter overlooking this convention. There have been stories of strange animals that have appeared at times of earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. The sea serpent stories about the time of the Charleston earthquake. About the same time, following a volcanic eruption in New Zealand, there were stories in New Zealand. The volcano Rotomahana was a harsh black cup that had spilled scenery, or the somber thing was a Puritan in finery. It had bellied its dourness with two broad decorations of silicious deposits shelving down to its base, one of them the white terrace and the other the pink terrace. These gray formations sloped from the bare black crater to another inconsistency, which was a grove of acacias. All around, the famous flowering bushes of this district made more sinful contrast with a gaunt, towering thing. Upon the 10th of June, 1886, this black fanatic slung a constitutional amendment. It was Reformation in the tense that virtue is uniformity that smothers variation. It's drabbed it drabbed its gay terraces. The grove of acacias was a mound of mud. It covered over the flowering bushes with smooth, clean mud. It was a virtually dismal scene, but as in all other reformations, a hankering survived in it. A leftover living thing made tracks in the smoothness of mud. In the New Zealand Herald, October 13th, 1886, a correspondent writes of having traversed this dull, dead, expanse, having seen it marked with the footprints of a living creature. He thought that the marks were a horse's, but there was another story that was attracting attention at this time, and his letter was an allusion to it. Morris were telling the Morays were telling of a wandering animal unknown to them that had appeared in this desert of mud. It was a creature with antlers or a stag, according to descriptions, an animal that had never been seen or had never been seen by Morays. Just what relation I think I can think of between volcanic eruptions and mysterious appearances of living things may seem obscure, but I have been impressed with several accounts of astonishing revivifications in regions that were volcanically desolated. Quick growths of plants have been attributed to the fertilizing properties of volcanic dust. Nevertheless, writers have expressed astonishment. If we have If we can have an organic view of our existence, we can think of restorative teleportations to a place of desolation, quite as we think of restorations occurring in places of injury in an animal organism. There are phenomena upon the borderline between the organic and the inorganic that we can think of, such as restorations of the forms of broken crystals in a solution. It is by automatic purpose or design or providence or guidance by which lost parts of a starfish are regenerated. In higher animal organisms, distinct structures, if lost, mostly are not restored, but injured tissues are. Still, even in the higher organisms, there are some restorations of mutilated parts, such as renewals of forms of a bird's clipped wing feathers. The tails of some lizards, if broken off, renew. For a conventional explanation of reviving plants in a fern forest that had been destroyed by flows of liquid lava from the volcano of Kilauea, Hawaii, see an account by Dr. G.R. Wyland in Science, April 11, 1930. Dr. Wyland considers his own explanation amazing. I'd not say that ours is more than that. Strange animals have appeared and they may have been teleported to this earth from other parts of an existence, but the easiest way of accounting for strange animals is to say that they are hybrids. Of course, I could handle or manhandle this subject any way to suit me, but be about as reasonable one way or as another. I could quote many authorities against the occurrence of bizarre hybrids, leaving hard to explain in terms of terrestrial origin strange creatures that have appeared upon this earth. There are biologists who will not admit fertility between creatures as much alike as hares and rabbits. Nevertheless, I think that there have been strange hybrids. The cow that gave birth to two lambs and a calf. I don't know how that will strike all minds, but to the mind of a standardized biologist, I'd not be much more preposterous if I should tell of an elephant that had produced two bicycles and a baby elephant. The story is told in the Toronto Globe, May 25th, 1889. It is said that a member of the staff of the Globe had been sent to investigate this outrage upon conventional obstetrics. The reporter went to the farm of Mr. John H. Carter at South Simcoe and then wrote that he had seen the two lambs, which were larger and coarser than ordinary or less romantically derived lambs, having upon their breasts tufts of hair like calf's hair. Other newspapers, Quebec Daily Mercury, for instance, published other details, such as statements by well known stock breeders that they had examined the lambs and were compelled to accept the story of their origin. So I am harming our idea that creatures unlike anything known upon this earth, but that have appeared upon this earth, may have been teleported from Mars or the moon. But I am supporting our general principle that, whether in biology, astronomy, obstetrics, or any other field of research, everything that is also isn't, and that everywhere there are data, partly sense and partly nonsense, that oppose established nonsense that has partly some sense to it. It does not matter what scientific dictum may be brought against us. I will engage to find that it is only an approximation, or that it is a workout only in imaginary conditions. The most rigorous science is frosted childishness. Every severe or chaste treatise upon mechanics is only a fairy story of frictionless and non extensible characters that interact upon up to the happy ending. Nowadays, a scenario writer will sometimes tone down the absolute happiness of a conclusion with just a suggestion that there is a little trouble in the offing. But the tellers of theorems represent about the quality of intellect in the most primitive times of Hollywood. For everything that is supposed to be well known, that it is proverbial, there are exceptions. A mule is a symbol of sterility. For instances of fertility in mules, look over indexes of the field. As to anything else that we're taking as absolute truth, look it up. One afternoon in October 1878, Mr. Davy, a naturalist who was employed at the London Aquarium, took a stroll with a new animal. I think of a prayer that is said to have been uttered by King Louis XIV. He was tired of lamb chops and beef and bacon. Oh God, send me a new animal. Mr. Davy took a stroll with one. People far away were attracted by such screeches as are seldom heard in London. Some ex-slaves who were playing in Uncle Tom's Cabin were following the new animal and were letting loose their excitability. The creature was about 2 feet long and 2 feet high and was formed like nothing known to anatomists, anyway, to anatomists of this earth. It was covered with wiry hair, head like a boar's, and curly tail like a boar's. It was described as a living cube, as if with abdomen missing, its hind legs were close to its forelegs. If Mr. Davies' intention had been to attract attention, he was succeeding. Almost anybody with the modern view of things will think what a pity he wasn't advertising something. The crowd jammed around so that he ran into the underground railway station. Here there was an uproar. He was compelled to ride in the break because of a fear that there would be a panic among the passengers. At the aquarium, Davy told that an acquaintance of his named Lehman had seen this creature with some peasants in the south of France and had bought it, but unable to speak the pathos of the district, had been unable to learn anything of its origin. At the aquarium, the only explanation that could be thought of was that it was a dog boar hybrid. Hold on. It's only 11 minutes. Davy's publicity continued. He took the new animal to his home, and a crowd went with him. His landlord looked at the animal, and the animal looked at the landlord. The landlord ran to his room and from behind closed doors ordered Davy to take away the monster. There was another holdup of traffic all the way to the home of Frank Buckland, in the Land and Water, of which he was the editor, issue of October 5th. Buckland wrote an account of this demon, as he called it, saying that it looked like a gargoyle or like one of Fuseli's satanic animals. He did not try to explain, but mentioned what was thought at the aquarium. In the next issue of Land and Water, Thomas Worthington, the naturalist, wrote that the idea of the hybrid was utterly untenable. But his own idea that the creature was a tame hyena of some abnormal kind leaves mysterious how the demon ever got into the possession of peasants in the south of France. It would be strange if they had a tame hyena of a normal kind. Allergies. In January 1846, a skull was found on the bank of the river of Murrumbidgee, Australia. It was examined by Dr. James Grant, who said that the general form and arrangement of the teeth were different from those of any animal known to him. He noted somebody's suggestion that it might be the skull of one of the camels that had been sent to Australia in the year 1839. He accounted for its having characters that were unknown to him by thinking that it might be photal. So then, whether in accordance with a theory or not, he found that some of the bones were imperfectly ossified and that the teeth were covered with a membrane. It was not a fossil, it was a skull of a large herbivorous animal and had not been exposed long. Melbourne, Argus, February 28th and March 1st, 1890, a wandering monster. A list of names and addresses of persons who said that they had seen it was published. It was a creature about 30 feet long and was terrorizing the people of Euro. The existence of some altogether unheard of monster is vouched for by a cloud of credible witnesses. I am tired of the sensible explanations that are holding back new delusions. So I suggest that this thing, 30 feet long, was not a creature, but was a construction in which explorers from somewhere else were traveling back and forth near one of this Earth's cities, having their own reasons for not wanting to investigate too closely. I don't know what will be thought of zoologists of Melbourne, but whatever will be thought of me can't be altogether focused upon me because there were scientists in Melbourne who were as enlightened as I am or as preposterous and sensational as I am. Officials of the Melbourne Zoological Gardens thought that whether this story was nonsense or not, it should be looked into. They got a big net and sent a man with the net to Euroa. 40 men with the man with the net set out. They hunted all day, but no huge bulk, more or less in the distance, was seen, and a statement that enormous tracks were found may be only a sop to us enlightened or preposterous ones. But the man with the net is a significant character. He had not the remotest of ideas of using it, but just the same, he went along with it. There are other evidences of occasional open mindedness among biologists and touches of indifference now and then what to whatever may be the fascinations of smugness, why biologists should be somewhat less dogmatic than astronomers, or why association with the other animals should be rather more liberalizing than is communion with the stars is not mysterious. One can look at a rhinoceros and at the same time be able to think, but the stupefying little stars shine with a hypnotic effect like other glittering points. The little things are taken too seriously, they twinkle humorously enough themselves. I think I'll stop there today. Where is that?